Hello and welcome to All United WFC with me, Anthony. I'm joined by John Foster after a lovely Christmas break. How are you, John?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you, Anthony. Good to be back on this show. I know I've had a couple of weeks off from here as well due to work. It's been a bit of a manic time at work at the moment, but gradually getting back to normal again now. Was looking forward to the Man United West Ham game, but unfortunately, we'll get onto that shortly. That's being called off, but yeah, not too bad. How was your Christmas, Anthony?
Yeah, it was good, thank you. It was luckily with my line of work, I always get that Christmas off, so I'm not like the retail section where it's probably one of your worst times of the year, isn't it? Where busy and everyone's panicking and all that, and you've got to put in extra shifts. As with you, kindly Connor's stepped in for the last few weeks, which we're grateful for. But no, it was good just seeing family and that, and we're getting back to some sort of normality. Unfortunately, we can't really say that in the world of football and COVID, as you mentioned. But other than that, I'm really good, thanks, and I'm glad you've had a good Christmas. So we'll start with before Christmas. Obviously, with COVID impacting fixtures, there was only 3 games before the Christmas break. Unfortunately, Chelsea, West Ham, Arsenal, Brighton, and Man City, Reading all fell due to COVID. But with the football we did have, we had 3 games. Man United winning 5-0 comfortably against Aston Villa, which is a great result. Spurs, we're going to have to call them Mr. 1-0s because they only ever win by 1 goal, it seems. But they had a great win against Everton. And the 6-pointer, Leicester, they got their first 3 points, which was great for them. Birmingham have got a point, but they're still pointless. But we'll start with Man United Villa. Obviously, you couldn't be there, John, unfortunately, but I'm sure you've seen the highlights and all that. What did you make of the game?
Yeah, I saw the highlights, and we've done a show on New Year's Day where we spoke a bit about like Skinner's tactics and things gradually coming together. I still think it sounds to say this, I still think we're a long way off where we can potentially be as well. But to say that we've won 3 games on the trot, scored 9, conceded 0, I think we have come a long way. For that game itself, I think Villa's lack of quality kind of helped us a little bit. But we have to be in the right place at the right time. We have to put them under pressure. We have to press at the right time and force Aston Villa into making those mistakes, and that's what we did. So great goals as well. Great to see Boris do really well and Hayley Ladd both playing at the same time. I think that obviously is something that the fan base have wanted to see for quite a while, especially in the WSL game. I know they've been playing together in some of the Conti games, but yeah, to play each other in the WSL game, and it worked. It worked really well. So a great performance all round there to win 5-0. And obviously we ended the year on a high, which is just what we needed.
Exactly. No, I couldn't agree more. Do you think we can take that into the new year? What I mean more is our lack of goals at times. Do you think, I know you say it's only Villa and that, but the competition is getting stronger in that. You only have to look at from when we played Villa in our first season, 12-1 and all that. And can you see us getting the goals that we deserve eventually? Can you see that coming? Obviously, you mentioned Skinner and his tactics, and fingers crossed we are starting to see it pay off.
Yeah, so obviously we played 3 of the more easier teams to get those 9 goals. I appreciate that. I think for me, we need to start being a bit more courageous in the final third. And what I mean by that is players making runs, don't just like being static. Make some runs in behind the defenders, and then we need to have the players on the pitch to actually spot those runs and play the ball in behind. I think if we start to do things like that and to open up their defence, I think absolutely we should carry on. Obviously, we should have played West Ham. That would have been a very difficult game to come back after the Christmas break. it looks like Birmingham at home now will be our next game. So I thoroughly expect us to carry on that winning streak. And that could be a bit of a blessing there, couldn't it, with West Ham being cancelled? Because that, even though I would have still fancied our chances against West Ham, that would have been an away game against a tougher team. So all of a sudden, a home game against Birmingham, you fancy a win there. So yeah, I think Man United will carry on going from strength to strength from here.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. And with our predictions, mine and Connor's, I had 3-0 and Connor had 4-0, so we both got 2 points on that part for the predictions. I'll move on to Spurs quickly. Are you expecting more of the same from Spurs in the second part of the season? Don't score many goals, but they keep them out.
Yeah, they've done well so far. After 10 games, roughly, after 10 games, you're there or thereabouts, aren't you? It's not like just a 3-game kind of part of the season. You're halfway through the season now, so I think they're there on merit, absolutely. I think other teams could potentially get stronger now. So we've seen the likes of Everton and City playing below par. So, of course, when some of these teams play Everton and City again, you might see something different, which will make Tottenham's life harder. So they may not pick up as many points going into the second half of the season. But the question is, can we start picking up those points and allow us to kind of overtake them? I still see City as our main rivals, closely followed by Tottenham for that third spot. But yeah, credit to Tottenham, and it's going to be a great game when we play them towards the end of January. Yeah,
no, I fully agree with you. We know how dangerous City can be. Yes, Tottenham, they can beat anyone. They're the only team to pick a point off Arsenal at the moment. So we know that Tottenham are a tough team to beat. But with City gradually getting their players back, they will be the main threat. We're not that far in front of them. So we've got to keep on winning and hoping we don't do what we did last season, whereas we sort of was a bit inconsistent second part of the season. So we'll see how it plays out, but fingers crossed. But we'll briefly talk about Leicester's first win. Vital win for Leicester. Birmingham will be feeling that we're doomed, especially if they don't win the return game.
Yeah.
Do you see Leicester pushing on? Will that breed confidence into them? New manager, obviously, had a few more weeks to get across their points and that. So how do you see it? I know they've got another tough game this week, which we will preview once we've briefly spoke about Leicester.
It'll give them a bit of belief to know that that they can actually start scoring and winning games, absolutely. I don't really see them going on much of a run or anything like that. I still think the deciding game will probably be that reverse fixture. I can't see them or Birmingham picking up too many points in this second half of the season. And obviously we'll go on to some predictions shortly, but I'm glad Leicester got that win. I don't want to see any team without any points. And you look at the quality that Leicester have got, they don't deserve to have 0 points. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that unfolds, because towards the end of the season, when they play each other again, that could really be that decider, couldn't it?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Leicester and Birmingham are down there on their own. It's about picking up points when they can, and they'll be feeling like that's going to be their best chance, because the other teams above, they seem to have a little bit more quality. I'd say Villa have they had a good start to the season, which has helped them. They've got the gap they need, and they'll feel like they'll be comfortable. So other than that, I think Villa will be slightly disappointed with the second half of the first part of the season. But like we know, it's going to be Leicester, Birmingham who go down. With the things Leicester are doing, I think it'd be a great shame if Leicester went down. Obviously, I don't know how much things are improved at Birmingham. Obviously, last season we had all that talk about players coming out with the facilities and that. So I would like to think that's got better. Do you know anything on that? Has it got better? Have you heard?
I think the fact that we haven't heard anything kind of makes me think that things have settled down in all clubs now. And we did a show yesterday about something very similar about these kind of facilities and how to grow the game, like all the things we'll be looking at in 2022. And I do think that clubs have been forced to act on things that, even what we put out, let alone Sky and BBC. I think what we've done good at on social media and in other media outlets is pointing out things that just aren't good enough. And I think obviously the standards behind the scenes, especially Birmingham, hasn't been good enough. We saw Liverpool not good enough, and they've been forced to act upon it, and they've done that this season. So I think I don't know if it's all hunky-dory behind the scenes of Birmingham, but I think things have settled down, and they still don't. I'm really glad that they haven't, because a lot of people at the start of the season thought that they was going to get relegated quite comfortably. I'm glad that that's not the case. I'm glad that they're in a race. It gives them confidence. It gives, it just makes it a bit more interesting, and I think the players deserve that as well. So, like I say, that's going to be like the biggest. That's going to be the biggest challenge, I think. Going forward now, who's going to be 11th and who's going to be 12th.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. Slightly going off topic, you talked about having a show yesterday, and it's great that Coventry United have been brought out. I want to just have a pointer quickly. I feel like if this was a few years ago, without the fan pressure and the Twitter and the media pressure, I feel like there wouldn't have been a buyer. They would have went the way of like Yeovil and Doncaster Ballets. Do you agree? I haven't watched your show fully, but I'm sure you mentioned that maybe.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a good point, Anthony. I think, as we've moved on now, I think it cost £250,000 to buy, to take over Coventry United, and that was including to pay off all the debts. So I think it was cheap to buy. I think it was something like £1 to buy, but it would get them into like £250,000 debt. So I don't think you would have seen that a long time ago. I think the Championship's getting stronger. I think the new investors will know that with the new Barclays deal. I think that will only help the top two tiers to get stronger. So, thoroughly agree with that comment, Anthony. And, it's great to see Coventry still being around, especially because me and a few of the other All United crew do go and watch those games because some of our ex-Man United players play there. If you haven't seen that show, it was on Wednesday night. You got Tom Gary, Rich Laverty. You had other people on there as well. So fantastic show, and check it out.
Yeah, no worries. So that leads us into this week's fixtures. We've mentioned it, COVID already. 3 games already been decimated from the fixture list. As you pointed out, unfortunately, West Ham Man United was the first to go on Tuesday afternoon, I believe. Then you had Chelsea Tottenham go Wednesday. And then Villa Everton went today. As in, a couple of days ago now it'd be. Obviously, we're pre-recorded, so you know that by now. And we can't guarantee that more games get called off by now, here and now. But with the 3 games that are still on, we'll discuss them in a bit of detail and the odds and that. So we will start with Reading v Leicester. It's 8th v 11th. Reading are 2-5. A draw is 3-1, and a Leicester win is 5-1. How do you see this game going? Bearing in mind, Reading have won 4 and drawn 5 for their last 6 WSL games. So they're in great form. Leicester, obviously, last time out, should be confident they've got a win. But do you feel with how Reading have been doing recently and home advantage that they'll be very confident that they can pick another 3 points up?
Yeah, I think those odds are about right on this one. Sometimes we look at the odds and we think it's a bit extreme. I think that's about right. Reading should be favourites, absolutely. Not just because of the home advantage, but as you say, good form. They have done really well, but they're not big clear favourites, presumably because of Leicester's recent win against Birmingham. As you say, Anthony, earlier, will that put a bit of fire in the belly of Leicester? And if they get another win here against Reading, all of a sudden they're looking very strong to stay up. And things can change quickly, but this is a game that Leicester will be looking at where they could potentially get another win. I'm not saying that will happen, but out of all the teams that they've still got to play again, apart from Birmingham, I think Reading's probably that game where they can look at least pinching something from it. So I do see Reading as favourites, but I don't think it'll be that easy.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Reading obviously will be full of confidence. Leicester should have confidence now knowing they can win. And this is only going to be the second time they've played. They haven't played each other in the WSL. But when they did meet last time in the FA Cup in 2020, Leicester won in the FA Cup in extra time. So Leicester know they can go and beat Reading. It's just being able to play the football on the day. Like I said, we mentioned it being a competitive league. The league is getting more competitive. We're seeing less really big scores. Even though we talk about Arsenal winning, but you only have to look 2 years ago when Arsenal were beating the likes of, I believe it was Bristol City, 11-0 or 11-1 it was.
Yeah.
We've not seen that yet. Even though Arsenal have been comfortable, they're only getting 4s and 5s and potentially a 6. So it might not look to some of the teams that it's getting closer, but result-wise and that, it's getting a lot more tough. And we mentioned me and Connor have been and we'll probably say it when we get to Birmingham Arsenal, but we'll probably be put a mortgage on this happening, and it has backfired. I can't remember which game it was now. Reading Chelsea, I think, where he put, I could put my house on it, and we know how that all ended. So
I think we did one as well. Man City losing against somebody at the start of the season. I can't remember
exactly. Yeah.
Twice, yeah. So yeah,
it would have been Man City, West Ham, or Tottenham, one of them, because they didn't have a very good start to the season, especially at home.
Yeah.
But going on that, no, I agree with you, Reading. What do you think the scoreline's going to be?
I've gone for a 2-1 Reading win, just based on basically what I've said. I don't think Reading will run away with it. I think Leicester will be probably a little bit unlucky, but Reading will probably just come out as victors, yeah. Yeah,
no, I agree with you with a 2-1 as well, which you can get at 7-1 for a 2-1. So it's not a bad shout if you go for 2-1. That's quite good odds from the experts, I think. But no, I'm with you. I think with home advantage and being unbeaten in the last 5 games, I expect Reading to start the new year off where they left off. So that's Reading, Leicester done. We'll move on to Brighton, Man City. They've played each other 6 times. City have won 5 out of 6 of them. Brighton did get a draw. The Brighton are a funny team. I've mentioned it so many times. You don't know what you're going to get with Brighton. you can be like, yeah, Brighton are going to win this, and then they don't turn up, or Brighton probably aren't going to win this, and then they turn up. And this, I said this when we played them, I was a bit on edge because I know how well Brighton do against us. So I was a bit iffy about that. But if Brighton turn up on their day, they could get something against City. But with City gradually getting their players back, do you expect City to win? Like, how do you expect it to plan out? Do you think it will be plain sailing? Obviously, the experts have City at 1-5, Brighton at 17-2, and they have the draw at 9-2. So they are going for Man City's favourites, even though Man City are currently 6th and Brighton are 5th.
I think those odds are quite harsh on Brighton there. Brighton have caught me out a few times. I've bet against them, so to speak, on these shows, and I thought Brighton would lose, and they've ended up doing really well and winning. But I do think that this is going to be Man City's time to kind of start digging their heels in and start putting a run together themselves. And I think it'll start this weekend. 5-1 on for City to win. I still think that's a little bit extreme. It's not something that I would have a look at, to be honest, because I think that's for me, it's more of a 2-3 on game. If you ask me on that one, I think City are favourites, but not clear favourites. And yeah, based on like Brighton's performance in the first 10 games, it's very hard to bet against them, especially on a team that's lower than them in the league. So yeah, I do fancy City. I'll give my score prediction shortly. I'll let you kind of give your say on it as well. But yeah, I think those odds are a little bit unkind on Brighton.
Yeah, see, I was a bit on the fence with my prediction for this, and I have gone for a scoreline that is going to credit Brighton, because I know Brighton can be quite dogged in defence when they need to, even though Man United were comfortable against them, we still had to work hard to put the ball in the net. It was a couple of great, just swung our feet out and they went in, luckily. But so we know Brighton on their day can do that and can keep it out, and then they can go down the other end and score. You only have to look at Brighton beating Chelsea only as far as last season. So we know that Brighton can get the big scores. They've beaten us. So Hope Powell's been there for a good few years now, and they've got a good couple of young players coming through. So it won't all be Man City's way. Obviously, with the West Ham game now being called off, I was going to do a double weekend, but with Brighton, Man City only just down the road from me, I'm going to turn up in my United shirt and cheer Brighton on. Natalie was like, "Oh, yeah, stand with the City fans," but unfortunately, I think the City fans will probably sit down, and I don't like sitting down at games, so I'll do my best to cheer on Brighton. But regarding scorelines, I've gone for a 1-1 draw, which you can get at 12-1 with the experts. Christmas and that, it's always tough to predict after the new year. You only have to look at Man United after New Year. They don't seem to do so well. So like you said, it could be a blessing in disguise that our game has been called off, because West Ham away is a tough fixture. So for that reason, I've gone for a 1-1 draw. How about you, John?
I think if this was a month ago, I would have probably agreed with you, 1-1 or a 2-1 either way, and you couldn't decide it. I've just got a feeling. I don't know if it's just because I'm a bit scared of what City can do, but I'm kind of expecting them to start turning the heat up a little bit now, and I think that'll start this week. I don't want them to. I'd love a 1-1 draw. I really would. And as you say, with Man United not playing, with West Ham, Spurs not playing, there's an opportunity here for Brighton or City to really close the gap and maybe overtake in some areas as well. So It's a massive weekend for both of those clubs. I'm going to go for 3-1 City, and that's the thing against Brighton. I just think it's time for City to start turning the screw a little bit. If they don't, if it is a 1-1 draw, then City will be majorly disappointed, and you've almost got to start asking questions because they've got to start putting a run together soon. I think Tottenham or Man United will start putting a run together. So City will have to start it sooner than those clubs to claw back the points that they're already away. So yeah, I think it's a massive weekend for City. So I think they'll turn up. So I'm going to say 3-1.
Okay, with the experts, you can get 3-1 at 9-1. So if you fancy that, there you go for that. But yeah, no, like you said, it could go either way. I get your view. Like you said, City have got to turn up, and they did in the second half last season, because if you remember rightly, they had a poor half last season, so we know they can claw it back. But fingers crossed, my prediction will be right for that one. But we'll move on to Birmingham v Arsenal now. First v 12th. You won't be surprised that Birmingham are 30-1 to win, 14-1 for a draw, and you can get Arsenal at 1/40 for the win, which basically means, in terms, don't bother wasting your money on either of them teams, because you wouldn't get much back for the putting Arsenal on, and if you put some monopoly money down, you're basically going to lose it, because it's odds on Arsenal win, with only dropping 2 points this season. Birmingham not picking up a win, it suggests that it's a foregone conclusion. But we have been here before, where we've been like, yeah, no, it's a foregone conclusion. So do you go sceptical? I don't think you do. I think, in theory, the team that are fully expected to win do 8-9 times out of 10 win. So I would fully expect an Arsenal win. It would be Arsenal. They've got a goal difference of 27. They have lost to Birmingham once, but this was back in 2018, when Birmingham did have the likes of Ellen White and that. So the squad's changed a bit since then. But I just can't see where Birmingham could even get a point from. I just think it's got a comfortable Arsenal win all over for me. How are you assessing it? I'm sure you fully agree with me, don't you? But
it's a shame that Birmingham has to come back right after the Christmas break against Arsenal. They'll want to get some points on the board after losing against Leicester as well, and this just isn't the game to start off January, is it? But the only thing I can think of is if Arsenal come back after the break, as you kind of mentioned in a previous fixture, kind of like a little bit of sleep. But even if they are asleep, they'll still wake up at some point in the 90 minutes. I can't see Birmingham scoring more than one, and I can definitely see Arsenal scoring more than one. So I can't see how Birmingham can win this one. As you've said before, Anthony, throughout the show, these things do happen. But if we have to give our prediction, it's going to be an Arsenal win, hasn't it?
Yep. No, I agree. And could you even see Birmingham scoring? I know you touched on it. You said
no, I actually can't. I'll give you my prediction there. It's going to be 5-0.
5-0. Yeah. No, the experts have that at 5-1. So if you were gonna have like experts views, the scoreline is what to go off for on games like this, because having the experts' opinion on who's going to win, it's not worth it to me. I've gone for 4-0, which is it's 4-1, which is it's good odds from the experts. But over to you. What were you going to say before I interrupted? Sorry.
No, I think that's pretty much it. I just think it's going to be very hard for Birmingham to get anything out of this game. And much like when we discussed Leicester at the start of the show, I think it's almost like damage limitation. I think Birmingham and Leicester just need to kind of keep as many goals out as they can against some of these top teams, because it might come down to goal average towards the end of the season. And I know that sounds quite bad, especially if you're a Leicester and Birmingham fan, but I think the main thing for these clubs at the moment is just to stay up. And if it does come down to goal average, these are the games where you've just got to stay tight and disciplined. If you do go 3-0 down at half time, try and keep it to like 3 or 4 for the whole game, because if you start getting higher than 6 or 7, your confidence will go even more. And obviously, it just doesn't look good on your goal average either, does it?
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. That's the 3 games. But before we do wrap up the show, I do want to ask you a couple of predictions, just so we can go back and look at it halfway through. Who's your top 3?
In order, I'll say this. I think Arsenal are still looking stronger than Chelsea in my eyes. I think the Champions League has been interesting this season. I think it's really put the cat amongst the pigeons when it comes to some of the European clubs compared to the English clubs. Not that that's got any bearing on the WSL, but when you start thinking that Arsenal and Chelsea are so really, really good, and then they start losing like against some of these top teams, I think that's interesting to look at. But they are way ahead of the rest of the league this season. So for me, I'm going to go Arsenal, Chelsea. I'm going to put United in there. But I also think even if I wasn't a United fan, I still think that United would finish above Tottenham. And I think City may just have a little bit too much to do, maybe. So I'm going to go for Arsenal, Chelsea, United. And then the bottom, if I can just jump onto that one.
Yeah, no worries.
It pains me to say, coming from the Birmingham area, it does, but I think that win for Leicester done them a world of good. And I think I'm one of the few people that would probably like to see Birmingham stay up, but I think they will just miss out as things stand.
Yeah, I agree with your predictions. I still think Arsenal will do it. The only way Arsenal potentially might fall apart in the WSL is where they've still got Champions League to concentrate on, whereas Chelsea haven't now. But even with Europe, I still fully expect it to be Arsenal's title. As we mentioned before, Chelsea is second, and I'm going to be positive as a Man United fan and say we will get third. Transfer window's open. Let's get 2 or 3 players in that are going to improve the squad, keep people, because there's been links with people going there. We don't want to do that. We want to be buying to improve the depth, not improving but getting rid of the depth competition. And then the bottom, I agree. And I've always backed Leicester sometimes, and so I was grateful that they did me a favour, because we didn't pick up on the predictions there, but I did have 2-1. I had 2-1 Leicester.
Yeah.
So they did do me proud, which is great. And I do think Leicester have got a good squad. I think where it's taken them a bit of time is where they've had quite a lot of new signings, so it's taken them a bit of time. And sometimes you don't get that, but I do think they could potentially get a couple of wins in the second part of the season. So I'm going to go, unfortunately for Birmingham, but Birmingham City will go down. But that wraps the show up. Please like and retweet. And John, what have we got on for the rest of the week?
Yeah, so Friday night we've got the fans forum, which is going to be great. We've got the usual crowd on. I'll be back myself this week, so I'll be on that one Friday. Saturday night, Ben, as you might have saw yesterday, is back. So Ben is back with Matt on the Saturday Night Live. Sunday is going to be an interesting one. We're on the road, obviously, with Man United not going ahead. I'm visiting my local team, Stourbridge, and a few of the northern presenters on the show. They'll be going to FC United. Obviously, yourself, Anthony, might be going to the Brighton game. So
yeah, I'm going to go to Brighton. Brighton v Man City.
Yeah.
On the Sunday.
If you got any pictures,
crossed, we don't have any more COVID, and then I'll try and get on TV, being loud.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure we'll hear you absolutely.
Exactly.
If you got any pictures or videos, send them to us, and we'll.
Yeah, I'll get some pictures and videos, which is always good for content and stuff. Like just that. But no, it seems like a great rest of the week. Thanks for coming on again, John. It was great to have you back on.
Thank you.
And we'll see you later, guys. Take care.
See you guys.
Take care.